Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse. She has a bomb drop of March 7th, 2022, a date of marriage of 1996, and she has a clinging boomerang who is a high-energy replayer. She says, "My husband is not having an affair. He left abruptly and he lives in a condo that his friend owns. He left and he said that I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And then he said he would file for divorce. The circumstances of his leaving were that I initiated sex and he wasn't able to keep an erection. He was angry and said it was my fault and that he isn't attracted to me anymore. Since then, after learning about midlife crisis, things have improved a lot. He hasn't brought up divorce in months. My question is, should I make an attempt to have him move back home? I think the longer he's away, the more vulnerable he is to having an affair." No. And I don't mean an absolute no on that. I don't think that should be the focus of where you're going. That should be a goal, because that's what reconciliation comes to. So we want to be living together, right? But I don't think that should be your number one thing right now. I want to have, first thing, start with more talks about this. You said that he's improved a lot and he hasn't brought up divorce. What has been brought up? What have you talked about? Is there counseling? Is there therapy going on? Instead, ask him how he feels about it. Where are you in reconnection? What does he feel? If you asked him, would he say, "I still want a divorce"? And he might not. You don't have to use the word divorce. You can ask him about, have you ever considered moving home? Or when do you think you should come home? Without inviting him home. Say, we're doing really well together, and I would like us to someday, so put it out there, be together and you to move home. Someday to be in the same house. But I think we need to, if we're going to do that someday, we need to advance what we're doing to get there. That will be marriage counseling. That will be talking about this instance, because his ED wasn't your fault. And he was embarrassed. But it's part of life and it sucks. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to him. But how is he going to handle failures? And I don't just mean failures in the bedroom, but other failures. Does he blame somebody else when he fails at something? Or when something, it's not his fault, but his body, not his mind, not his intentions, but his body fails because it's embarrassing and it's about his manhood. And we don't want to make fun of his manhood. That's important. But is he going to be so fragile that he blames you for things that are not anything to do with you? Or he even blames himself in the sense of, I'm ashamed of what my body did. And that's some other things to work through in therapy. Why and how to come through this. How to handle it the next time. And it being any type of failure, not just that. So that he's handling it in a healthy manner. And how to overcome the failure. So the problem isn't fix ED so that he never has a problem as erectile dysfunction, and he can always have an erection when wanted. That's not the solution. That would be nice, but that's just avoiding a problem. The problem being why he can't handle the failure of something, and that when that happens, he blames other people. That's what was going on there. There might be other things going on. So having him move home without fixing and figuring, not just fixing, but figuring out the problem, and then seeking to heal from the damage and set it up so that the problem doesn't happen again. And the problem isn't the erectile dysfunction. The problem is how he reacted. The problem is what he did with the failure. Failure's not a problem. It's a part of life. It sucks, but it is. But what you do with it, that's where you succeed or fail. So instead of having him move home, and you're showing your fear here because you said the longer he's away, the more vulnerable he is to having an affair. Now, first thing, he could be having one and you don't know about it. I mean, yes, maybe not. And I'm not saying that's likely or not. I tend to go with what people think. But, and you're right, he could be more vulnerable to having an affair. So talk to him about it. Rather than having him come home prematurely because you're afraid of what would happen if he doesn't, I would rather the two of you work together in a known capacity. In other words, I'm not saying there's a contract or not, but in a known, if you had a contract where he knows what you're doing, you know what you're doing, you know you're working toward this goal. How do you get to that place? And I would, if you could, you have to talk to him, because then you have to talk to starting it with counseling, some form of therapy. And is he going to roadblock therapy? That's also another clue that they're not ready if they roadblock therapy. But I would hold off on making the primary goal that you're leading to right now, getting him home, and looking at what you can do. Look at the chunk size goals that come before that first and focus on them. Put that home goal as off in the distance. It's still there. It's just focus on the goals right in front of you. Okay? And I hope this helps. And I will see everybody in the next question.